Hello,
Guys.
hello, welcome. It's good to see some familiar faces. And Vivian, I did get your email, so I'm looking
Okay.
forward to our conversation later
Thank
this week.
you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
cool. So we have quite a few on the call, but certainly, hopefully there will be many more to join. I know that there seems to be a little bit of a hiccup with maybe the link. I think all of that's been straightened out by now. So a couple other things that we've noticed is seems like some people are still struggling to get into our Facebook community. So we're doing everything we can, but I will say one of the most effective ways, if this sounds like you, is to just shoot either Steph or I a friend request to our personal accounts, and then we can immediately add you into the group. And I think that's one of the fastest and most effective ways. I don't know why we're having a hard time with people. That we've verified the settings in the account, in the Facebook group, and everything appears to be in place. So it's just something that we'll have to continue to take on as a case-by-case basis. So again, I would just invite you to, of course, email us at the ff@lesliehooper.com email account if this is you, because we absolutely want everyone to participate in the Facebook community. And I think as of right now, we're missing quite a few people. Steph Miramontes, co-coach, is here. Hello, Steph.
Hello.
Is there any housekeeping stuff that I'm forgetting?
Housekeeping stuff.
One more thought that just came to my mind. Sorry, don't mean to cut you off because you might be having the same one. If you have not yet signed up for your one-on-one coaching call with us, maybe there's a time barrier or whatever, then I would definitely invite you to take us up on that offer. I feel like that's going to be a really valuable conversation for us as coaches, getting to know you, but also so we can give you some personal insights and direction on how to make the most out of the program, because you all are unique individuals, and it's nice to have some tailoring and customization to your unique circumstances and maybe dieting background and habits and beliefs and all of that good stuff. So those are the two housekeeping things that were top of mind for me. Sorry, Steph, didn't mean to cut you off if you have something else on your mind.
Yeah, no, I got on a coaching call with one of our members, and there was a little bit of confusion around, like, what am I supposed to be doing? I have the habit tracker, but like, what else am I supposed to be doing? So if you're feeling any kind of confusion about reading through the worksheet, filling out your worksheet, coming to coaching calls, have any questions about how things work, joining discussions in the Facebook community and things along those lines, then please make sure that you're sending us an email, because this program isn't very long. And so I just want to make sure that we're not kind of like waiting on, let me just figure this out at the next coaching call. That's losing a whole week. I want to make sure you get the value and all the things. So it was maybe just a one-off situation, but if you are having any confusion, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for that. Anything else as we start to embark on the journey of social eating today? Okay,
Let's do it.
cool. So one thing that you all will likely learn about me is I am a bit of a dork when it comes to research. As someone who took a lot of comfort in calorie counting, macro tracking, and the numbers systems and things like that, I really love data. And so when it comes to social eating, I just want to take a little bit of time here to talk a little bit about the statistics behind social eating and what we know about social eating and how it influences overeating. So when you think about social eating, it's really just eating with two or more people. Seems like a pretty simple explanation, but people are like, well, what if you go to a movie theater by yourself and there's like people all around you? Is that still social eating? Or like if you're eating on a plane next to people? And sure, it might qualify a bit if you are inclined to eat differently in their presence, but for the sake of today's conversation, let's just focus on your traditional social group eating. So considering 2 or more people. And the obvious question is, what makes people overeat when they're with other people? Right out the gate, I think it makes sense, and you all would probably agree that that usually means that there's going to be a lot more food options available when you think about holiday parties or maybe some kind of social gathering at work. Maybe it's a potluck or somebody's birthday. Then there's just going to typically be a lot more food options, which frankly is a big part of the appeal. And people tend to eat most or all of the food that they serve themselves in this social setting. So one statistic that I love, and it probably is even in the ebook that you all received, is regardless of how big your plate is, if it's 15 inches, if it's a platter, or if it's 6 inches, you're probably going to eat 92% of what is on your plate. This is why in the program, right out the gate, we encourage our clients to use at a 9-inch plate if they can, because your stomach is only the size of your fist, right? Generally, more than that is going to be more than you need. And if you're someone who's a member of the Clean Your Plate Club, you're going to be overeating. So socially, there's also a lot of distractions. We eat more because we're preoccupied with the conversation, less likely to be checking in with our our physical cues, because we're now engaging in social interaction. And we don't do a very good job of being present with our own thoughts because we're generally just running on autopilot. And the reality is humans will eat until their brain tells them to stop. And if you're not listening to your brain, or you're not paying attention to your stomach, you're screwed. So you have to have some check-in points with yourself to observe your thoughts and feelings. Otherwise, you'll basically eat until you're uncomfortably full or the food is gone. One of the two. Both scenarios are uncomfortable. The other thing that's important to recognize as well is humans model one another's behavior. So you all may have heard that like attracts like, and other, quips like that. But if you're someone who routinely overeats, or maybe the better way to say it is if you are someone who is dining with somebody who routinely overeats, then you're more likely to overeat right alongside them. And the reverse is true. So if you're socializing or maybe grabbing lunch with a couple of colleagues who are naturally thin people, or maybe even dieters or very health or body conscious, then you're more likely to eat less or about the same amount as themselves. So this is something that you all likely already know. I think there's a couple pieces of fascinating research that I really love, where we tend to match other people's intake, and that's a way of establishing human connection, right? We're kind of fulfilling a social contract with one another and not embarrassing someone else by eating less than they do. So we will eat more to try to manage their mind or their comfort. We don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable, so we will eat more to accommodate them. And the other thing is research shows that people resent it when you eat less than they do. You might be seen as a bit of a buzzkill, and they might feel a little disappointed. You've probably been there yourself. As dieters, we often are looking for excuses or reasons to break our rules. And if you're with somebody who's like, "No, I'm good here," and they're not willing to kind of like overindulge with you, chances are you might be a little annoyed by that. So my last kind of final piece of research that I thought was really interesting is people do not eat more when the group consists of strangers. With strangers, we're more concerned about their opinions of us, and it can become magnified in a social setting like this. We try harder to impress strangers more so than we do, obviously, our friends and family. Friends, family, they can almost be identified as people who accept you regardless of how much you eat. So strangers, we're still in the process of trying to manage their opinion of us or present ourselves in a particular way, maybe try to impress them. So we eat less. You might have noticed this maybe on a blind date with somebody. I've certainly done that in my own behavior that I've observed over the past. And we also know that socially excessive eating can attract or create negative opinions in people. So we try to kind of manage our intake. We don't want people to associate us with being gluttonous or lacking self-control or, any kind of quote unquote negative attribute that we as a society have deemed inappropriate or socially unacceptable. Sorry, my dog, Dex. The only positive attribute that's associated with overeating is being someone who is fun-loving. So if you're the life of the party and your personality is overeating and you make that look like a lot of fun, high energy, then, people will probably give you a pass. But otherwise, humans are pretty judgmental. And I think it makes sense that if you are in a social setting that you might feel a bit more inclined to overeat with other people who are overeating. So I think that's one of the things that we love about social gatherings is we do kind of give ourselves a social, like a pass, I guess, to eat more than we would otherwise. It's also an opportunity for you to maybe loosen the reins on your dieting, your food rules, and eat quote unquote bad foods without the guilt. Eating with friends gives us a sense of freedom and allows us to push boundaries what would otherwise maybe be considered an unacceptable amount of food. So in a group, it's socially acceptable for everyone to overeat while convincing themselves that they are all eating appropriately. We all do this together. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because I think it's important for you to understand what are your triggers when you're going into your holiday eating experiences. Or we just had Thanksgiving. Did you encounter anyone who talked about overeating? Did you find yourself more inclined to overeat because there were more food options available to you? We know when we're overeating, we're not blind to this, but I think we're more inclined to do it when other people around us are doing it. We kind of give ourselves, the license to do it when other people are doing it. We don't have the same maybe guilt to adhere to the same social standards or dieting rules that we've cultivated for ourselves. So it's interesting because we eat together because we want to socialize, but a big part of the reason that we want to socialize is so that we can get away with eating more. So I'm curious, how many of you, because we're just coming out of our Thanksgiving holiday here in the States, I just would love to hear a little bit about how you all navigated your Thanksgiving meal this year. We have like a lot of cameras turned off, so I can't really do it by maybe a raise of hand. Maybe the digital hand would work here in this situation, but just by a raise of hands, did it look different this year? And maybe like a way that you're feeling proud of or encouraged by? Go ahead and show me by a raise of hands or leave a comment in the chat box. And I know Steph will, and I will go ahead and reply to that as we see fit. But clearly it's our purpose and goal here to help you all become aware of the reasons why you overeat so we can start to change the reasons why you, give you some different scripts and ideas and strategies around eating a bit less. Steph, I know you're going to take over here and talk a little bit about the mindset piece, since we're so big on the psychology aspect of eating around here.
I don't know why, but it's like you keep muting me. Okay. One thing that I do want to offer for all of you is even if you had a different thought this Thanksgiving than you had in previous years, even if you still ate your face off, but you had a different awareness. You had a different conversation with yourself. You made any kind of effort at all to say, maybe I don't want the last few bites, or, I really don't want a second piece of pie. And then you still picked at it a little bit, or you found yourself wandering back in. Having the conversation with yourself is still a win. It is still, the whole goal is, can I do a little bit better than I did the year before? And can I take some time to reflect on what I did do without judgment, without shame, without being an asshole, and just say, like, what led to my decisions? Was I happy with them? Did I like them? Did I not like them? And if not, what do I want to learn from this so that I can give my brain some sort of program, some sort of information that says this is important for me to just pay more attention to in my next social setting. So don't get too tripped up on, hey, did Thanksgiving look a little different for you? And you're like, nope, still overate. But, maybe you did have some wins in there. Get real good at finding those wins, because what we focus on expands. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some mindset stuff, because as Leslie said, there are a lot of reasons why when we're in social settings, we eat more, we eat less, we modify our behavior. And some of that is also just, oh, well, I feel awkward in social situations, or I don't know what to do with my hands when everybody else is still eating and I'm done, or something along those lines. And so there are a million and one reasons, and it's all interesting to know. But the most important thing that's interesting to know is, what are the cycles of your own behavior? What is the mindset that's driving your behavior? And also, on the other side of that, what do I want my holidays to look like? Because if your thought is, well, when I'm in social situations, if you're one of those that have the personality of someone who is like the life of the party, like Leslie mentioned, and you like to feed people with love, and you love all the food around, and that's a big deal to you, you might start feeling restricted and deprived if you even think about cutting back. Your little inner rebel might be throwing coal on the fire and burning it right up and being like, listen, that shit's about to go down, try me. So I just want to offer that if you are starting to feel a little rebellious about some of this, or something else is going on with your mindset, cultivating a holiday experience that you want to have is super important. And the only way we do that is if we know what matters and why it matters. So when you look at your worksheet this week, there were quite a few questions that tried to prompt you to figure out what the holiday season is according to you. And if you're someone who struggles this time of year, has a hard time this time of year, if you can identify some of those beliefs about what makes the holiday a hard time of year for you to succeed, then that's good information to have so that you can work on your beliefs. If you remember from last week, beliefs are just thoughts we keep on thinking, but thoughts we keep on thinking create our habits, our behaviors, and ultimately our results. So when we can figure out what they are, then we have a chance to coach on them. We have a chance to practice new ones. And ultimately, we can create the feelings that we want to have that align with who we want to be. And so I just want you to know that if it is a struggle for you, 8 to 10, at least American people struggle to relax during the holidays and find any time for themselves. And 88% find it the hardest time of the year. So even if you love the holidays and it fuels you and you think it's just the most wonderful thing in the world, it still might be the hardest time of year for you. And that would be normal. That would be okay. You're not just like a Grinch who hates the holidays. It's okay to struggle and have a hard time. But let's look at maybe what we do want the holiday season to look like. So you're all here for a reason. You want to stop overeating during the holidays and probably beyond. Probably don't want this just to be, I don't want to overeat between, I don't know, mid-October to January 1st. I really want to figure out some strategies that help me carry this on beyond the holidays. So what would be a reasonable holiday season goal for you? What do you actually want to accomplish at the end of the day? What would make you proud? And having a little bit of perspective around what makes the holidays so quote unquote hard can be really helpful. We got several birthdays during the holiday season. So we have the holidays and we have a lot of birthdays and we have a lot of social events and we have a lot going on. That is a lot going on as a thought. It's not a fact, right? Some people have more going than I do, and they feel totally fine with their schedule. Like it's just what they do and how they live their life. For me, it feels like a lot because I'm telling myself this is more than I'm used to, and that's a lot. And so that sentence alone creates stress, overwhelm, drama in my brain, all the things. So a holiday season for me is probably going to look different than a holiday season for you in what I desire, what I want, how I want to feel, and all the things. So whether you celebrate or not, what does the holiday season mean to you? What is really important to you when you talk about it, when you think about it, when you have it coming up for you? What are the things that really stand out to you? Some of it might be food related. You might think about certain foods and certain things that you enjoy during just the holidays because of the novelty or because of the community or because pie takes, I don't know, 6 hours to make. And so it's the only time of year you're willing to put in the effort, whatever that is. But what else does it mean to you? Include the food, but what else? Is it about connection? Is it about community? Is it about your own personal religious beliefs or your family values? Or is it just time where you're like, I get a few extra days off work, I'm chilling? Or is it a time for you to reflect and think about how your year has gone, who's been impactful in your life, who hasn't? Maybe it's a bit of a, like, we're closing a chapter of a book and then the following year feels like opening a new page. And do you look forward to any traditions, activities, anything like that? If you're someone who celebrates a lot of traditions, how do you feel about them? I saw a meme on Instagram, something that said like traditions are just peer pressure from dead people. I was like, oh my God, it's true. Peer pressure is total, or traditions are totally peer pressure from dead people. Do you like your traditions, or is it just more work for you? Does it feel like it all falls on your shoulders and you take the brunt of all of the work because you have an idea in your mind that everybody relies on you to make sure that everything runs smoothly and all the lights get put up and all the things get done? My dad is a rock star when it comes to Christmas lights. The man is incredible. And getting married was hard because my man is not a rock star with Christmas lights. He does not give a shit about them. We do a few, but that's it. And so the disconnect for me was a little bit difficult because I want Christmas lights, whatever. And it wasn't a value or a priority for him. And so that would create pressure for his, an opportunity for him to people please for me so that I could have the thing when he's just like, I don't get you. You're so weird. So think about what actually is important to you versus what you just expect yourself to do. What are you just doing because you think other people need it from you, or whether it's been expressed or not? What do you enjoy the most about them, and what do you not enjoy about them? Is there anything that needs to make the list of like, it's a no this year? Let me see if anybody even notices if I don't do this thing this year. And if somebody does, you might need to have a conversation about it. Maybe not. Another thing that has come up with clients before is talking about how there was these big expectations of like a big breakfast before a holiday meal and then a lunch. And then they finally had their holiday dinner. And a couple of the kids were like, you do not need to eat, make, and do all of this food. And it was a big awakening for that mother who was feeding 3 meals during the holiday meal day, because she's like, oh, well, I just started this when I was raising young kids and everybody was hungry all the time. So I started the traditional breakfast. I started the, break in the middle of the day for lunch and things like that. But y'all are grown now. So I guess you could feed yourself if you want something before dinner is ready. And nobody really did. It was just too much. And so she was putting all this pressure on herself to make sure everything was done for everyone, and they didn't want it. And that leaves people feeling bitter, uncared for, unappreciated. And on the other side of that, other people are feeling pressured to eat and overeat and do all of the things when we could just not have that tradition anymore because we've outgrown it. We don't need it anymore. When the holiday season is over, I'm going to ask you to kind of jump to your future self here a little bit. How do you want to feel? How do you want to feel when the season is over? When you reflect back, when you think back, do you want to feel exhausted and say, oh, thank goodness that is over, I am done? Maybe. maybe. Sometimes I love exhausting myself after I've accomplished something really great. And it's like, oh, so glad that's done. But man, we really kicked ass and we did it. And I have a sense of excitement and pride over that. Other times I'm like, oh, I'm so glad it's done. Now I can be who I really am. Now I can sleep and stop people pleasing and put on my real face and like all the things, right? I don't have to put on a show anymore. So I want you to think about where is your own alignment? How would you like to feel throughout the holiday season? What is your anchor? What is your North Star for you to focus on? So if you say, you know what, I really just want to sit in gratitude during the holiday season. That's my core desired feeling, is just being in gratitude. Then if you notice on December 13th or 14th that you are being crabby and resentful and life is not feeling very ho, ho, ho or whatever, then where are we kind of at with that? If feelings are created from our thoughts, what do you frequently think that makes you feel grumpy, resentful, overwhelmed, overworked, whatever it is? Because if you want to be in a state of gratitude, we have to think thoughts that make us feel grateful, connected, warm. So just kind of offering that you invite yourself to think about, if I have a core desired feeling of how I want to feel, and this is not about like pressure to feel gratitude 24/7, but what is the general feeling I want to be having? And if I don't generally feel grateful, there's probably something that needs to change. And most likely it sits between my ears, and it's the thoughts I keep on thinking about, the pressure maybe that I'm putting on myself. And then I just want you to take a look at your mental story and identify the beliefs that make it hard to succeed. Write 4 to 6 of your most common beliefs about why the holidays are challenging or an impossible time of year to reach your goals. Traveling makes it hard. There's too much to do. I don't have time to think about it. I don't have time to show up for it. I certainly don't have time to journal. Why do you even ask me to give journaling prompts? That's ridiculous. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings by declining invitations or not eating food that's prepared for me. There's too much pressure for me to make sure that everybody's feelings are exactly as they should be. The office is full of treats. I have to go to both families' houses, and so I have to eat at both places because we want to make sure nobody's upset or offended. I feel lonely, and food is my only comfort at that time. I'm grieving. My emotions are too big and too heavy, too difficult to handle. Lots and lots of reasons why you might feel like the holidays are just not the time of year to get your shit together. And that is the perfect reason why it is a great time of year, because the holidays just give the rest of your life a megaphone. It makes everything really loud. All the scheduling conflicts that you have throughout the year, all the overwhelm, all the people pleasing, all the times you say yes when you really mean no, but you still say yes and you just overwork, overcommit, whatever. The holidays just give all of that a really loud speaker, which is a beautiful gift because you can see it. You can look at it and say, ooh, I do this all the time. Do I want to keep doing this to myself? Who suffers if I don't do this to myself anymore? Just curious. And then for each of those beliefs, I want you to write a new belief that you could practice this year instead. I'm responsible for everyone else's fun during the holidays. If I don't do it, no one will. That is a doozy. That is a high pressure belief, my friends. If that is something that you're thinking, it's like, if I don't do it, nobody will. So I take on the responsibility because I have to. No, you don't. You never have to. You may want to. The feeling of other people being disappointed because no one else stepped up might be really difficult for you. And that cost of having that emotional experience might be higher than the cost of you stressing yourself out to take over and do it, but you still don't have to. And the reason why it's important to think about it in this way is because you get to decide, do I want to do the thing that I always do? And if so, do I need to change my thoughts about it? Because if I'm going to keep on doing all the things for all the people, then I'm going to complain, and then I'm going to be miserable, and I'm going to bitch all the way to Christmas Eve about how nobody helps me and nothing ever gets done. And, it's a good thing I exist. And then nobody even appreciates it, like all the things. If that's the way it feels, you're not going to have the feeling that you want during the holidays. And you're robbing yourself of that opportunity. So either we say, you know what? I'm going to pare it down this year, and then I'm going to let everyone else have their emotional experience of disappointment if things don't get done. I'm going to delegate this year because chances are people are willing to help take some of the burden off. I just haven't asked because I've been doing it for so long that it feels uncomfortable for me to ask for help. I haven't learned how to do that yet. Or I'm going to keep doing it, and I'm going to change the way that I think about it. I'm going to tell myself that I am awesome. I am so glad that I exist in their lives to make their lives happier, better, more pleasant, that I always find wonderful gifts for everyone. I think of everyone who comes, crosses my path, all the things, whatever it is that you're putting pressure on yourself. I just want you to say, what else could I believe about this year? We could have a beautiful family gathering and have it be smaller than it was last year. Having a smaller gathering doesn't make it less Christmassy or less festive or less fun, right? Lots of ways that you can change your beliefs. And then after you have defined all the reasons why it's hard and difficult and why more eating and more emotional eating and all the things are going to be happening no matter what, because it's just too much for this time of year, and you've practiced some new beliefs, you've written some things that you could be thinking, believing, talking about instead, then we have this mindset of what is a reasonable goal for you to set during the holidays? What could you be thinking about? What are some of the ways that you could overcome some of this? And, thinking about it from, again, jumping ahead to the future version of you. What do you not want to be doing for the rest of your life? Because chances are there are some things that you're like, you know what? I hope someday this changes. So your opportunity right now is to change things that you want different and learn how to think differently about those changes at the same time. So really just gathering the information from your future self, from the version of you who feels differently around the holidays, that supports herself differently around the holidays and says, this is how I want to feel. This is how I want to show up in my life. And here are some of the things you're going to be needing to think and feel in order to not do those things right now. That's kind of the mindset piece that I want you thinking about, is like, before the holidays, how do I usually feel about them? During the holidays, what do I like what is my holiday story? What makes the holidays so damn hard to me? And could I think about any of these things differently? Do I want to think about any of these things differently, but I can't figure it out? So I need to ask a coach. I need to get some help. I need to get some support there. And in the future, how do I want to be behaving, thinking, whatever, like what needs to go on or off the list so that I feel like I'm in alignment with my values and the experience that I really want to be having? Because when we get around other people and we show up with other people, it's really easy to put our own true needs aside for our immediate instant gratification. And you might be like, what are you talking about? I'm not gratified, I'm grumpy, or I'm stressed, or I'm overwhelmed, or I'm having a hard time. But there is an immediate need to feel okay, meaning I'm going to overeat because I don't want the emotional burden of someone asking me a question like, well, aren't you going to eat more? Well, did you try my pie? And you're like, no. Awkward silence. No, I didn't get any, sorry. Well, there's more. Oh, no, it's a no for me. I don't like pumpkin pie, whatever. So if there's the instant gratification of you putting your needs aside so that you don't have to have the uncomfortable experience of disappointing someone else or someone else being frustrated, you're trying to manage their sort of opinions and things like that of you. And that's a hard job. That's a big job. And it's a job that doesn't have to belong to you. So I really want you to just create the holiday season that you want to be having. And then in the next little bit, we will talk about kind of how to do that. Get on the right page here. Yeah, Leslie, I think you were going to talk about some food.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk for long because I do want to get to the coaching here. One thing that I just wanted to briefly mention that was in your worksheet this week was around the idea of food pushers. And I actually got to experience this over the weekend myself. I was a guest in my brother's home for Thanksgiving, and my brother clearly doesn't know anything about what I do or whatever, but he was like, oh, well, you're on vacation. Like, it's okay. Have a second waffle. And I'm like, like, it's interesting because it's really revealing like how his mindset works, not how mine works, right? Like at some way, he just kind of assumes that I'm like feeling deprived or restricted if I'm not eating 2 waffles, instead of like maybe this idea that like 2 waffles is just physically my discomfort zone. And so, he made them from scratch and he's always really proud because it's, Kent's famous waffles. But it was just an interesting experience because, here I am, almost 43 years old, still getting food pushed from my mother and my brother, and you can't really ever totally avoid it. So I'm curious, and I'd love to hear in the comments chat box if you all also experienced any food pushing this weekend or over Thanksgiving holiday as well. And how was that for you? How did you respond to that? Most food pushers are really just doing it from a place of love, right? They just want you to enjoy yourself, especially if you are a guest in their home or they're hosting a party. They really just want you to like have a good time, leave the party feeling satisfied. And a big part of how we demonstrate love and care is clearly through providing. So one thing that I mentioned in the worksheet is kind of some of the scripts that I use when food pushers start pushing their food onto me. And I think it's really important to understand that this is really, again, more about them than it is about you. This is them wanting to accommodate you. This is them wanting to make them feel better, ensuring that you are, having a good time at their party or whatever the case may be. So some things that I like to say is, I'm kind of at the perfect Goldilocks stage of fullness right now. If I have any more, I'm just going to feel uncomfortable. Or, hey, this will taste so much better if I can just have some tomorrow when I'm actually hungry for it. One thing that I've learned to do with my family over the years is also just listen. I do my best to only eat when I'm hungry. I've learned that eating food outside of my hunger just doesn't feel amazing. And I want to make sure that I'm able to enjoy all the food that I eat. And so I don't just like eat for the sake of eating. It's a habit that I've been cultivating, working on. Clearly, that's a little bit of a different conversation. You don't have to explain yourself to anybody. I just want to make that very clear. But when it comes to people that I eat with a lot, my sister, my mother, my daughter, whatever, then like, I don't mind spending a few extra sentences explaining, because people are actually pretty supportive and they do want you to feel amazing. And if you walk away from the table feeling amazing, then like, why would anybody not want you to feel amazing? So I think it's helpful that we don't feel like we have to explain ourselves to them unless you want to do that. You don't have to. I think most people are generally pretty good with you just saying, I'm not hungry anymore, or I'm satisfied, or like I said, I'm at the perfect Goldilocks stage of fullness. And they usually just back off at that point in time. But, not all food pushers are as kind or coming from a lovely, accommodating place. Some people are a little bit more sinister. And like I mentioned earlier, really do want you to eat more because it makes them feel less guilty for them eating more. So again, it's not your job to manage their mind or their intake, but do remember that no is a complete sentence. And if somebody has a problem with it, that is their problem, not yours. So that's all I'm going to say on food pushing. Steph, you want to wrap this up so we can dive into some coaching here?
Yeah, I think that I kind of covered both sides of mine in the middle, because mindset really does lead to behavior. And so I just want you to think about if you have a story around it's hard because I have too many obligations, it's hard because of the way other people behave, things like that. I just want you to spend some time writing down what your actual obligations are. Sometimes we look at the holidays in a whole box instead of just looking at here's kind of what I really am committed to doing. And here are the experiences I'm wanting to have at each of these events, get-togethers, gatherings, whatever. And just looking at it through the lens of, well, at this experience, is this experience really as difficult as I make it seem? Do I need to have some conversations with my people pleasers or not? But mostly, do I need to have conversations with myself about how I want to think and feel when I gather? And y'all can go ahead and start raising your digital hands if you want some coaching, so we can make sure that we get to all of you. Down at the bottom of your screen, there's a little area that says reactions, so we can answer your questions. Don't be shy. So I just want you to think about, from your future self, what are the, when you think back on the holiday season this year, what obstacles did you overcome? How did you do it? What are you most proud of? What felt hard? What felt easy? Are there any ways that you could make it easier for you the next year? And since we're doing that now, before you have the majority of your holiday parties and things like that, it's great to consult the version of you who's already been through all of this, who this is no longer a problem for, so that you can spend some time really thinking, like, if this is ever going to be a problem solved checkbox thing for me, what's going to need to happen? How would I be thinking about it then? Because chances are the people around you are not going to change. Chances are you are always going to have folks in your life that want you to eat a little more, want to love you with food a little bit, want to send things home with you, want you to, stay at the table and take round two. They're always going to comment on your weight and, whether or not you look amazing this year. Like, there are always going to be people in your life that say words, and you're going to make those words mean something about you. And so you just get to decide right now, if no one ever changes, how do I want to show up for me regardless? And that's a really good lens to start asking yourself questions from. All right. Emmy, do you want to go ahead and get us started?
Yeah, thank you. That's all really interesting about like holiday and kind of how to approach all of that. My question for coaching is a little bit, definitely for me, can be related to holiday, but is a little bit more like an everyday thing I've started to notice about my own eating habits. I've kind of started to notice that I think I've either made a habit of, or just have like a strong preference of, like, ending a given meal with like something sweet. So if I have something like a savory meal, like I really like to like cap it with like something sweet. And I was talking to Leslie about this earlier. Like, I'm not much of like a chronic dieter. Like, I pretty much, I think, give myself a little bit too much leniency, where I'll be like, no, like, you should be able to have what you want. But I don't think it's necessary that I'm having like something sweet with every meal. And so I'm just kind of curious if that kind of habit seems like something where I should just start incorporating, something sweet with whatever that meal is, or if it's something where I should just maybe start practicing not doing that, realizing that there might be some discomfort in that for a little bit. But like, for example, not too long ago, I had like a breakfast sandwich type of thing, and I kind of don't want to feel like I need like some chocolate after it, but I like would prefer that. But I do think I need to start having somewhat harder lines with myself. So I'm just kind of curious, like, what a good way to start approaching that like craving might be.
Yeah. So I actually don't really feel like it's a craving. I think it's just a habit. I think the thought, I always have something sweet after a meal, creates a rule in your brain that as soon as you have a meal, then your brain's like, okay, you always have something sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Where's your chocolate at?
Yeah.
And I personally don't think there's anything wrong with having a little something sweet if that's what you like to do to close off your meal. There are a lot of strategies, hacks, tips, whatever, that you can use to be like, okay, well, maybe I'll just eat my sandwich until I get to a point where you're like, you know what, the only room I have left in my stomach is for either the last couple bites of the sandwich or something sweet. And I just get to decide at that moment what gets to take up my available real estate that's left. And that's that, it really doesn't matter. But my curiosity is like, what in your mind is the problem? Because right now you're separating sweets from everything else in that you eat. I understand that, like, there's the language around like, oh, I'm pretty permissive, I should be able to have whatever I want. But like, I want to have sweets after every meal, and I shouldn't be able to have that. So there's definitely a rule there. And I'm just curious why you think it's a big deal to have a piece of chocolate at the end of every meal.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think I think it's maybe less that I think it's like a bad thing inherently. I think it's maybe more that I feel like this isn't something I need to be doing at every meal. Like, I think I'd rather like savor a treat and have it be a little bit more of like, oh, like I love how after dinner I have my cookie or whatever it is. Whereas, like, maybe I think it loses some of its like, novelty or excitement when I'm doing it at every meal. Maybe is why I'm like trying not to do it. I'm not so sure though.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing, and I could be wrong, so feel free to kind of guide me here, but what I'm hearing is like, oh, well, the way I'm doing it now kind of steals the novelty and the fun and the pleasure out of it. So I want to keep the emotional attachment to the cookie kind of thing. And so I need to stop doing it at this other time so I can get the more comfort from it or more pleasure or enjoyment or whatever later.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, right? Because food is always going to taste good. You have taste buds for a reason. Food is awesome. But it's a good thing, in my opinion, when food is not like the most exciting and important thing that we look forward to at the end of every day. And so if your idea is, I only want to have it really at dinner, I don't really want to be having it at breakfast and lunch, that's fine. Like, you don't have to want to eat chocolate with your oatmeal. That's fine. You don't have to. But when we start thinking about the reasons why we want to change our behavior, I always want you to like your reasons, because if the thought is like, I don't want this food to lose its impact, its pleasure impact, what is it giving you at the end of the day that it's not giving you at breakfast and lunch? Like if you eat a cookie, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, what is it that you're expecting the cookie to offer you at dinner that it's not offering you at breakfast and lunch?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I think maybe there is some level of like comfort of like end of the day or something like that. I maybe that. Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong here. I really don't think anybody needs to be like, I need to get to a point where cookies are boring. I don't feel like anybody has to be bored by cookies. I think that it's totally fine for you to love to end your meal with a few bites of a cookie and be like, and we're done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's a problem. And so the only reason that it's a problem is because you have thoughts right now that make you feel like there's something wrong with eating it earlier in the day, but then you just can't seem to not do it. Because if it's all about like, it tastes so good in the evening and I love the way it feels to end a meal with a cookie, but then you have thoughts about like, but at breakfast and lunch, I can't seem to stop eating the cookie. Like I want a little sweet with my breakfast. I want a little sweet at the end of my lunch. And I can't seem to stop that. Then there's some sort of tug of war of like, this costs me this emotionally. And then it's not about the flavor of the food or the pleasure anymore. Something is kind of an emotional pull there.
Yeah. And I definitely think part of it is that until I've like started this program, I'm not great about sitting down for meals, and I will more like go to my pantry and be standing up and be eating like the chocolate or whatever it is. And then I think I don't like that because then I definitely think I, overeat or eat, more like chocolate than I would like to at that time, or maybe I get too full or whatever it is. Whereas I do think if it's something that I still think, no, I like this brings joy to my breakfast or whatever it is, I think if I were to start incorporating that sitting down, having it as part of my meal, that might feel better. I think it's kind of like also the grazing nature of it that I don't love the feel of, because it feels, I think, a little bit less in control.
There we go. Right. So now we have kind of more information to work with. Do you feel more in control at dinner when you're do you sit down and eat your dinner and, like you described, savor the treat at the end of the meal kind of thing at dinner, whereas that behavior is not the same for breakfast and lunch?
Yeah, I think I give myself more permission to do that, but I actually also think I do the like multiple trips to the pantry thing. And I do know that that feeling to me doesn't always feel great. Like I think there is something that I'm learning about the whole sitting down and like having it like be part of a meal, as opposed to like, oh gosh, I can't even remember how many like chocolates I've had at this point. Like I feel like I've just kept making trips to the pantry. Like I think I don't love that feeling either. So I think for whatever meal it is, I do like the idea of kind of incorporating it to the sitting down, getting it on my plate, whatever it is.
Yeah. So when we talk about multiple trips back to the pantry, that's another piece of key evidence that it is not about the food. Because if it was about the food and it was about the pleasure of the food, then you would want to bring it to the table. You'd want to eat it. You'd want to be present for every bite, but you're going back and looking for more. But it's really not about more cookies. You already had the cookie experience, the peak pleasure moment from the cookie, the flavor, the texture, the crunch, all of that happened. Your brain's like, box checked. So if you're continuing to go back for more, then there's something else kind of hanging out that we're not addressing. So if you plated your one cookie or whatever it is, whatever, however much you want, but like whatever it is that you're like, when I'm conscious and my brain is working and it's having a conversation with me and I'm plating my breakfast, lunch, or dinner, here are the number of cookies I would choose that I think would be pleasurable and feel good, to use your language. And then after that, what would I have to be feeling if I wasn't continuing to go back to the pantry to get more cookies? Like, would I have to be bored? Would I have to be like anxious that work was starting and I had so much to do? Or now I have to get back to work after my lunch hour and that's my only break. Like, what's really going on that more cookies are like, hey, you still have more of us. You could just like think about this instead.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I think especially at night, it's like when I'm already like comfy and doing something relaxed, I think it's almost like to continue the relaxation somehow. Like it just feels nice to like be watching TV and eating my cookie or whatever, So I think it's
Does
about,
it?
yeah. I mean, I think part of me like likes to zone out and do those things together. I don't know why.
Part of you does, but you just spent the entire time telling me how it doesn't feel nice.
Yeah.
The way you keep going back. So you have a really sexy story in your head about how it looks. Like when you're like, no, I just love to watch TV, chill, cookies, it all goes together. Then you're like, and I feel like shit the whole time. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So we have some cognitive dissonance going on. Like what's actually happening versus what you believe is happening are not matching up. It's not coming together. And so like how nice would it feel if you relaxed, got all cozy, wound down, you had your cookies at dinner, and then you move to the sofa and you chill and you don't have the cookie? Have we eliminated the ability to relax? Or what is going on with you emotionally? Are you just sitting there going like, oh, I need to get a cookie and this is so hard? Are we sitting in resistance and urgency? What's going on there?
I think there's just something that I don't know how to describe it, but so I was telling Leslie, my mom calls it combining pleasures. Like she's like, I love, like watching TV while eating something. And maybe that's like a learned behavior because I've seen like my mom and my aunts do that kind of thing a lot where they
It even has a name.
Really?
Well, you just said it. She's like,
yes.
I love combined pleasures.
Yeah, totally. And they do that a lot. And I think somewhere along the way, I've like learned that as well.
Yeah. I grew up learning that I didn't like the color blue. I was wrong. My mom didn't like the color blue, so I didn't like the color blue. And like, I didn't like the color blue until I was a grown ass adult in my 20s. And then I was like, why don't I like the color blue? That's weird. Chance, I do. I really like it. My mom was just wrong about her color, and so is yours. But she's not wrong for her. She likes what she likes, and that's fine. And you can actually like those things too, and that's fine. But when we choose the behavior, we also choose the consequences. And chances are you could learn to like combining pleasures that don't create the consequence of you feeling physically uncomfortable. So, at some point, we just have to decide, do I want to keep my sexy story about how pleasurable this is? Or do I want to say like combining pleasures feels terrible to my body? Like now I'm overeating and I feel physically uncomfortable. And so the cost might be too high at that point. I also really like shopping and spending money, but I don't want to go broke.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel good, right? Exactly. There's a peak pleasure point and then it's just more stuff.
Yes.
That doesn't have any value.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just like, is this worth it? Is it, like, yes, part of this might feel good, but ultimately I've been, wanting to lose weight for years kind of thing. Like, it's a kind of like a which do I value more? And when I actually really think about it, I might value more even the feelings of being in control. And, even if that means bringing a cookie to the dinner plate as opposed to on the couch when I have just the whole bag, like that should be a sacrifice that I should be willing to make, even when ultimately it might just make me feel better and help contribute to my goal of, becoming thinner and more, in control of how I tend to eat.
I want to be really clear here because the cookie is not the problem.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't matter if it's cookies or a bag of carrots. Like, I don't care what the food is. Cookies are just food. And so, but when we're talking about kind of the habit, I just want you to know that when you do start setting some personal boundaries around, like, listen, I'm learning to be someone who doesn't have to eat when I'm on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning to be someone who knows how to relax without cookies, and have a very sexy story about that too, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be some discomfort there with your brain. Like, it would make this better though. Cookies.
Yeah.
There's going to be a little bit of emotional discomfort, but that doesn't make it wrong or bad, or you wrong or bad. But if we can't get to the mindset piece of, I notice that this is hard only because I've been telling myself that this combined pleasure thing is a really good thing. And so if you don't do it and you're only sitting there like willpower and struggle and difficulty and like, I've got to do this so I can get thinner, then the first time you have a bad day or you're overtired or you need a hug, you're going to look for cookies to start hugging, and they don't hug back, unfortunately. And so we've got to really get to the mindset where we're learning to be someone who understands what relaxation really is and what it's not. And it's like, if I just want the feeling of relaxation, let me just tell myself the truth about what is relaxing and what is not relaxing. So maybe we're going to stop saying that combined pleasures is a relaxing thing if it's not true, because it relaxes the part of your brain that wants satisfaction for pleasure, but it's not relaxing your body. It's not relaxing you in your goals, in your daily life. You have a lot of thoughts about food, about your body, about all the things. And so it's not that relaxing.
Yeah.
It's just one thing that you do that you might consider doing something different about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. Learning to be somebody who does something different. And that's really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Leslie, do you have anything to add there?
I do. I had the pleasure of speaking with Emmy earlier today on our one-on-one. So hi, Emmy. It's nice to see your face. So just a couple of thoughts. I mean, this just sounds like a married habit to me. Sitting down, watching TV while snacking, doesn't matter if it's cookies, Cheetos, or carrots. It's just like a habit that I used to have as well. And there's no more pleasure in TV when you're doing it while you're eating, and there's no more pleasure in eating when you're doing it with the TV. I think that is a story that might need a little bit of reframing, because it's certainly not helpful to your goals. And there is discomfort here, right? So I think Steph was touching on the idea of like, you got to tell yourself the truth, because in my world, relaxation, self-care, whatever feels good before, during, and after. And this isn't checking the box after. So like that means we have to go back to the drawing board a little bit and say, okay, there's a disconnect here. And you all kind of already talked about the disconnect, so I'm not going to go into that. The one thing I did want to mention, just rewinding a bit about the chocolate, it sounds like you consistently eat at the end of the meal. I want to invite you to try something different and have it at the beginning of the meal and see how that feels, just as an experiment. And is it as exciting or enticing, or do you feel like you have to go back for more at the end of the meal? Like, is it really the habit of having it at the end of the meal, or is there any pleasure or satisfaction if you have it early on? Your brain's probably going to freak out like, hey, we've been doing this at the end of the meal for years. Our society tells us that we have sweets at the end of the meal. And I'm a big advocate of best bites first. You all may have heard me talk about that, because it is easier to walk away from, I don't know, pizza crust or the crust of a sandwich or some spinach on a plate or whatever. And I think we have to get into the habit of eating what we really want to be eating without kind of the rules. Like we have to earn the treat. And so there are times when it's like, hey, listen, it's dinner time. And you know what sounds really good? Ice cream.
Yeah.
I don't have to eat the salad to have ice cream. I'm just going to have the ice cream and then I'll evaluate if I want something else afterwards. And I think that starts to kind of deconstruct our beliefs about like what are good foods, what are bad foods, and letting yourself truly experience what you want in that moment, because you're going to eat the chocolate anyway. You're doing it on the couch, you're doing it in the pantry. So like, let's just be honest about it. I want chocolate. Cool. What would it feel like to actually start with the chocolate if that's what you're most excited about? And then just see what happens. Does your brain freak out? So I'm just inviting you to explore that part of yourself, because frankly, that is very much a dieting thought, right? Like small children who don't have dieting rule, but they would never even consider, like their parents will tell them, you got to eat your vegetables first. But if they have carrot sticks, chocolate, potato chips, and a sandwich or whatever, they might eat the chocolate first and then make their way to the other things. So what do you think about that?
I will definitely try that. And I'm so sorry. I actually have a work call that's starting right now. So I'll have to jump, but I will definitely try that and I'll report back with how I feel about it.
Sounds good. Thanks, Emmy.
Okay. Thank you guys so much. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
All right, Erica, you are up.
Thank you. So I do kind of want to piggyback on what Emmy was talking about, because that is where my struggle is right now, is kind of the trigger foods. I'm doing well in avoiding snacks and just sticking to my meal and basically having a snack or whatnot with my meal. The evenings are hard. It's like those last couple hours of work, I want a snack because that's been a pattern, but it's also I'm bored. And so I know, I mean, I've resisted it, but I don't want to like keep like feeling the stress of it, of like every stinking day that I'm fighting it. But also my thing kind of with the trigger foods is I've kind of been of the school of thought for the last several years that you either eat for your health or you're feeding disease. And so I have all this like guilt and shame and all of that when I'm, I'm having trigger foods with my meal. I'm doing good at not overeating, but I'm just like, looking at that cookie, or I know there's like added oil to what I'm eating. And then just the guilt kind of exacerbates later when I'm like having like a little bit of heartburn. But I mean, I can at least say that like, having that little bit of heartburn is not as bad as it was before, because previously really eating more than I was hungry for, but feeling like I got to clean the plate because, I was totally raised like, you're not leaving the table until you finish that food. And it just being a frugal person too, like, I don't want to like, this is like money I'm throwing away is how I look at it. But then like other times, I could totally like be like, take a couple bites and be like, this isn't that good, and just like chuck the whole thing. And that's something I kind of started practicing really over like the last year, like this isn't worth my calories, and throwing it away. But those are, so those are kind of the struggles I'm having, where I'm hoping that this program maybe gets me to the point that I just don't really want the trigger foods. That, I mean, not necessarily that I'm going to sit down and have a salad and this is great, this is all I want. But I do want to be having meals where I feel like that was a great choice. I'm proud of that. I didn't have any added oil or, inflammation causing foods. And I'm also one of those that, prefer not to eat, I'm plant-based, or I try to be. That's been one of the triggers I've added, is like, having a little turkey and stuff like that, but then like feeling like bad about it. And my body does react to that sometimes, or I'll get joint pain from eating meat, or the dairy will, cause me to get a little bit of mucus. Sorry, guys, not trying to be gross. I'm just being real.
That's totally fine. Well, this is,
But yeah.
I'm going to stop you here just to
Yeah.
make sure that we kind of make sure that we're putting these in the appropriate containers,
Okay.
because there are a few things kind of going on
Yeah.
here.
Sure.
I'm also a plant-based eater.
Fantastic.
It aligns with my values. I got a whole goat farm outside. It's an expensive petting zoo. I love it. There you go. But I have no drama around any of the other foods. I don't feel like I need to add meat in as a trigger food, because I have no desire whatsoever to eat it, because it doesn't align with my values and who I am as a person. If my husband and I go out to dinner and he orders dessert and he gets something and it has a little bit of butter in it, I have no drama at all about having a few bites of his dessert and moving on with my life without thinking I have done something wrong. I haven't. I just had a few bites of cake or whatever. But I also eat plenty of what might be considered in your mind as disease-causing foods. And so we kind of have this narrative of like, we're feeding disease and things like that. And you don't have to eat anything, right? No one, if you notice, nothing in this program says you have to eat things that are XYZ, right? There are plenty of foods that we can have that are satisfying and nutritious and all the things. And so nobody's going to tell you extra oils or not, or whatever. Your beliefs get to be your own. If somebody was allergic to peanut butter, I would not be like, listen, you've just got to get over that. Have a peanut butter cookie, do it. Like, I would never do that. The cost is too high. So if you know there are foods that your body reacts to, then don't eat them if you don't want to eat them, or do if you do want to. You get to determine the cost versus, consequence, whatever. It's all up to you when it comes to that kind of stuff. Same thing with people who, their doctors are like, listen, you got celiac disease. And they're like, well, how do I not feel restricted? It's like, well, we still have to honor and respect our bodies. So if you have celiac disease, you have celiac disease. Let's figure out how to change the mindset around restriction and turn you into someone who's just like, I am so happy I take such good care of myself that I never allow myself to have diarrhea for bread. Like, I just never have diarrhea for bread. It's not who I am. And that's fine. So, but some of it is also the mindset of these foods cause disease, and that's scientifically debatable in a lot of ways. Okay. So we want to make sure that what we're looking at is like, yeah, if you ate donuts for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day until you die, your lifespan might be shortened. It just might. Yeah. You probably wouldn't feel awesome. But if you have a variety of foods in a variety of ways, chances are you're not going to be feeding disease. You're going to have a normal, healthy relationship with food in your body, and it's probably going to be just fine. But you get to decide what that limit and that line is for you. As for not wanting trigger foods, though, that's where the kicker comes in, because your thought is, I want this program to help me not want those trigger foods anymore. Yeah. So I'm not feeding the disease. But that's really not going to happen, because like you kind of described, you were overeating and all the things, like you were eating them anyway. You already have the idea in your mind that these are bad foods, forbidden foods, shouldn't be eating them. And so you have kind of like this tug of war relationship where I restrict. And then when I do eat them, I go to town because I got to get my shit together and get back on track tomorrow. So if the poison is in the dose, you're probably going to be fine having a cookie here and there and a few things that are just pleasurable, versus binging on them because you're restricting them so hard and then feeling so guilty for this horrible thing that you think that you've done to your body, when chances are your body is going to be just fine because it's built to work through a variety of different nutrient sources. It'll be a-okay. And if you find that something doesn't work for you, you just don't eat it. And then we do the mindset work around why that's the best possible decision you could be making for yourself, because that's what you've decided to do. So that's kind of that's one piece of the puzzle, is my mindset around good foods and bad foods and where that kind of lives. And that'll be practice and time for you. I don't expect you to change that overnight. You've probably been listening to and absorbing information about that for a really long time, it can be a little bit difficult to start to unravel the clean eating story from the processed food story and what that really means. So give yourself some space and grace and time to figure that out. But if you don't feel good eating meat and dairy and whatever, don't eat them. Nobody thinks you have to. But, also being a plant-based eater is a little difficult out in the world. Like, I eat a lot of French fries.
Yeah.
Leslie and I've talked about this many times. Like, some restaurants the only thing they have is French fries for me on the menu, or a boring ass salad. So, whatever. That's just the way it goes. And so the other side of this is the I don't want to be bored side, right? The emotional experience that you're having at the end of the night. You're like, I don't want to feel that stress for the rest of my life. Well, stress is an emotion. Boredom is an emotion, and both of those things come from the way that you're thinking, right? So if you're adding these foods in, you're enjoying the foods, and then nighttime's coming around and you have the urgency to have a snack or pick at something because you're bored, then we've got to be willing to be bored long enough to figure out why you feel so bored, what the problem really is, because food is only so entertaining, and then it's not. But there's something that you're expecting to feel, right? So it's like, I've already met my needs, my physical need for food. My belly is full. I already know this is kind of a done deal. So what is the emotional need I'm trying to fulfill? And the truth is, if boredom is the problem, food is not the solution, but a hobby might be.
Yeah.
That might be something. So one of the things that I really want everyone to learn here is that the way we end up with a life we're not happy in is by having uncomfortable emotional experiences and shutting them down as soon as we have them, instead of asking ourselves, what is this asking me to learn? And so if boredom is your every single night emotion and food is the only thing that takes the boredom away, then your boredom is asking you for something. It's saying, hey, you've got this space in your life. Would you like to fill it? And when we start eating about it, then we don't even have the opportunity to have the conversation and say, what would I like to do with my extra time and space? A lot of people would just love to be bored. So we were just like, can I just be bored? Somebody give me some boredom. Where do I purchase that? So this is a really good opportunity for you to say, well, okay, what is my boredom trying to teach me? If I wasn't going to eat right now, how would I solve for boredom?
Yeah, I got some puzzles and stuff recently. It's like I'm trying to find hobbies to fill my time. It's the worst though when I'm at work, because it's basically like I'm practically like I get all my work done, and then it's like the last hour or two, like I'm essentially on call because work's not coming in, but I'm not allowed to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, I don't know, I gotta figure out something there. Like, I can't really get a puzzle in there, but
No, maybe
I think
not.
that's the
But
hardest time. But I am trying to have crafts and other habits to fill my time. But then I'm totally unmotivated to do them. Like, I don't want to get up from the TV.
okay, so you're watching TV.
Yeah.
That's a pretty low energy exchange, right? So
Yeah.
eating doesn't take a lot of effort. Watching TV doesn't take a lot of effort.
Right.
Can we just watch TV?
Well, that's what I've been doing. And I can kind of resist the snacking. And I found myself at one point, kind of early on in the program, where I was like, yeah, I must be hungry. I want to go eat. And then I was like, I don't really feel like sitting at the table and writing it down. And I was like, girl, you're not hungry. You're
Mm-hmm.
bored. You're
Mm-hmm.
bored.
Mm-hmm.
So I just waited an hour, and I was like, oh, now I actually am hungry, and that's fine. So we'll go sit at the table. We're turning the TV off. We're leaving the cell phone in the other room. So it's like
Yeah.
I've been good with that. And yeah, I'm just, so I'm doing good. I think mostly because I have the excellent accountability with you guys, or I can check in with the Facebook group. I've got the accountability holding my hand right now, that I know I'm going to have to tell on myself if I do it, or I'm gonna have to fill out the worksheet.
We've got a punitive thing going on here.
Oh, totally.
Oh, well, Erica, what I want to suggest is that what you're feeling as far as the real discomfort here comes from resistance. Think about resisting anything. Resistance is extremely uncomfortable. You're trying to make the urge to eat go away, but it's a well-practiced behavior. The urge is not going to go away any more than skipping brushing your teeth would send you into a like complete embarrassment and like, oh my gosh, I can't talk to anyone. I can't talk to anyone. Right. It's going to be louder in the beginning. This is not going to be stressful for the rest of your life, but it is going to be challenging until it's not. And the way we become so much less challenged by it is to surrender and say like, of course I want to eat right now. Why wouldn't I? I've been eating for the last, I don't know, couple of years when I have 2 hours of non-work to do. And I feel like I'm in a work prison that won't let me out. Like can't leave, can't do anything.
Yeah, I need the money.
Stuck here watching TV. So of course you're going to feel an urge to eat. But if you can just spend a little bit of time saying like, okay, I'm noticing I have an urge to eat right now. What does that feel like? Well, I feel a little anxious, feel a little twitchy. My fingers feel a little tight. Like maybe you feel a little tug in your chest or something. Maybe your feet are drumming in your shoes. Like what does an urge actually feel like? Get into your body and see if you can just process that physical feeling a little bit, because chances are the biggest pain and suffering you're experiencing right now is in your mind, trying to resist the urge, saying like, you can make it until you're hungry. You can make it until you're hungry. You can make it. It's just 2 more hours. It's just 2 hours. Like, it's not that big a deal. The food's right there, but it's not that big. Like trying to force yourself not to want it is never going to work. Just be like, of course I want it. It's normal to want it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want things. That's okay. I can want them. I really look forward to when I get to eat it, and I'm going to be hungry and it's going to taste amazing. But right now, I just want to sit here and let the desire exist. It's not going to hurt me. It's okay. Turn the temperature down a little bit. How does that feel?
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Leslie, I know that was kind of a lot. What say you? I can see it on your face.
I think when you have a long history of dieting, and Erica, I do not know enough about you to know your dieting background yet, but I hope to learn it.
It's long.
Yeah. And I think it is going to be for most people on this call. Frankly, that's kind of the clientele, if you will, that we attract. But the reality is most of you all have been dieting for so long, it is your normal. And to the point where it has become your hobby. When you have free time, y'all are listening to the podcast, you're reading the books, you're scrolling the counts on Instagram with food porn or exercise. You know what I mean? Like your life kind of has been filled with all of this weight loss talk. And if you were to just strip it all away, maybe think about your childhood for just a moment. Like before, maybe some of this started to enter into the scene. One question that I like clients to think about is like, hey, who were you before dieting entered your life? What were your interests? What were your hobby as children? Were you, I don't know, into like roller derby or basketball or reading or dance or whatever? What kind of television shows are you drawn to? Are you into like true crime or interior design or travel? And so I think it's important that you start exploring your identity as a non-dieter, because your goal is to become someone who doesn't follow these accounts on social media anymore, because all it does is feed into your obsession, and you actually become less connected to your own interests and who you are as like this whole ass human, because we've just been following like the track of weight loss. And like, it makes us really uninteresting and kind of boring people when we don't really expand and kind of get curious about like, okay, this is who I used to be, but I lost a lot of that. Or I didn't really spend much time exploring that. So these are things that I've learned since kind of tapping the brakes on dieting. It's like, okay, now I have this life, all this time That's no longer being occupied by like calorie counting or washing Tupperware containers or spending like 2 hours in the gym every day and, listening to all these podcasts. It's like, I have all this time. What am I going to do with it? And I think over time, you start to fill your life with the things that are actually fulfilling. And so if dieting has been your hobby, like it was mine, then you might be bored in this program, in this process. And I want to invite all of you to consider cleaning out your social media. Who are you allowing to influence you? Get really clear on like, what do you like to follow? I like to follow comedians. I like to follow some travel stuff. I like to follow a lot of interior design stuff. I follow local sports teams because I like keeping tabs on that. I follow psychology, right? I follow dog accounts. Like I spend a lot of time on Reddit reading about certain things that are of interest to me, human behavior, dieting, kind of getting a peek into people's mindset and dieting forums and things like that. So I just want to invite you all to consider what you were doing before you started dieting, and can you start bringing back some of those things into your life and feeling it so we're not so bored. So we're not sitting there just thinking the old habit thoughts that we've had over and over again, which frankly aren't that interesting because a lot of them are probably about judging your body or how much you ate or what you're going to eat next or what you shouldn't have eaten. And Erica, you have a lot of do's and don'ts. And like that feels to me like a hard place to live life, because a meal isn't just like a pleasurable experience anymore. It's like got a lot of if I think about eating as a disease, like that's kind of terrifying to me to sit down at the table. That's like really heavy emotionally. And I don't want you to go into your meals feeling that heaviness, because it doesn't have to feel that way either. And it's your thoughts that are creating that. So I'm just going to stop rambling now, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there because it is something that we spend quite a bit of time with our clients and stuff, is like filling their life with things that isn't just food, because food has been such like a focal point for so many years. It's like people don't even know how to do that anymore.
Yeah, there's definitely two sides to this emotional coin. One side is our emotions are there for a reason. There are teachers, they're language. It's the language that our body uses, that our mind uses, our psychology, our spirit, whatever language resonates with you. Human beings have a full plethora of emotional experiences, and that's very, very normal. It's, and there are no bad emotions. It's just data. It's just information. It's just a guide. So when we're experiencing emotion, they're not negative. They're uncomfortable at times. But that is for a good reason. Just like if you put your hand on a stove, you want that to hurt, so you move it. It's letting you know we got to do something about this, or you don't like this, or this is not in alignment, or this doesn't feel awesome. They're also very temporary. As long as you get out of your head and you just let the emotion be there and you don't fight it and you don't resist it and you don't think it's bad and you don't assign labels to it or think something is wrong with you for experiencing it, the emotion tends to pass. I've had 1,000 of them today. I bet you have too. And oftentimes we don't even notice that we're having emotional experiences until they get really, really loud. And oftentimes we don't know that we're having them because we eat about them, or we scroll about them, or we TV about them, or we shop about them, or whatever our vices are. And so getting to a place where we are willing to have an emotional experience, and willing is my favorite one. If I am just willing to feel all the feelings, whatever comes up without judgment, then I have an opportunity to do something different with my life, because my emotion is guiding me to say, hey, this is not fun. We don't love it. So there's that piece of just getting out of resistance and getting into curiosity. Am I willing to feel this shit for a little while just to see like what's living under here? What is so damn urgent that I have to make it go away? And the only thing I got are snacks. And then the other piece is, you don't have to suffer. Some people, I say, hey, surrender to the emotion. They're like, great. Now I have to sit in the middle of the living room and cry. Like, no, you might need that. It might be the best thing for you. Get a blankie and just cry it out, friend. But really what it is just just accepting that emotions are just normal. We don't actually have to do anything with them. But if I notice an emotional pattern, meaning I'm bored every night, well, that's an invitation to make a change. And then you don't have to be bored every night if you make some sort of change, but you got to be willing to experiment a little. And puzzles may not be the thing that works for you at work, but something probably will. You might find just a trashy novel to read. Like, just go dig in your mom's basement. I bet she got some doozies. You might find you love it. Let yourself off the hook of finding the perfect thing and date your hobbies. Date a few things. You don't have to commit to any one thing. Try some stuff. See what works. And don't judge yourself if you find something mindless that you enjoy, like solitaire or Candy Crush or something like that. That's just like, you know what? This is how I spend my time until I get a phone call at work. Cool. Lucky me that I get a job where I just get to do some stuff for a while. You probably get annoyed when somebody does call and you're like, shit, I was almost speeding that level. Whatever works. But we got to drop out of the judgment and into curiosity, out of the resistance and into allowing. That sound doable to experiment with?
Yeah.
Cool.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. All right, Janice, you're up.
Hello, everyone. How are you all today? Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, doing
Yes.
wonderful.
Okay, good. I look a hot mess. That's why my camera's not on today. But I'm at home and I look like it. So I have a few questions, but I really just wanted to, something you said, Steph, kind of rang with me when you said, it's okay to be a little mentally uncomfortable when the mental hunger arises, to go and feel whatever desire with food, if you're trying to avoid whatever it is. I know for me, I tend to be a night owl, and I can have all the meals and all the good stuff and not hungry, but I know after a certain time when I should be in the bed, then I want to nibble. And I say to myself, well, if you take your behind the bed, then you won't want to eat, But for some reason, I find that I struggle with that. For some reason, I want to eat, if you will. And to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, sometimes I can have a thought to eat, but I'm otherwise engaged. I'm watching a true crime show, which you say, I love true crime. I love all that stuff. So my Netflix is full of those things. But I will get a thought come across my mind, let's eat or something, and then it'll go away. And then I find that I go, oh yeah, I was thinking about eating. Should I go? Let's see. And then for some reason it'll drift away. And then a little bit later I go, yeah, that's right. We were supposed to go in the kitchen and get something to eat. Now I'm not hungry, but it's like, I get this spark of ooh, I got something to do. I can go eat, Yeah. And so I would like for you ladies to kind of speak to that. And maybe I would apply the same techniques that you were just recommending to Erica, allow it to go and come, but then eventually let it go. But I find that I will do that sometimes. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can go eat. That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, I got plenty. I got something I can do. I can go eat. And even though I don't want it. So what are your thoughts when we kind of have those types of urges? When I feel like we bring it back, when the body lets it go. And I'm like, yeah, wait a minute, don't leave. Yeah. We're supposed to do something.
Do you identify as someone who's very busy during the day?
I can be. My current work schedule is very feast or famine. So right now I'm kind of in famine. We're slowing down. I travel for work. When I'm not at home, I'm on the road in some way, shape or form. And I'm engaged for most of the 3/4 of my day. I'm engaged. Either I'm traveling, training, because I train for a living, I'm training, I'm driving, I'm something, And then when I don't do it, I'm not doing any of it really.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm very back and forth. I love what I do and how I work, but it kind of wreaks havoc on trying to have some type of consistency with eating regularly.
Well, something that came up for me as you were talking, you sound like you experience what psychologists call revenge bedtime procrastination. Which,
oh, wow. That's
which
interesting.
Is you just being like, I know I need to get to bed.
Yeah.
But this is the time I have for me.
Yeah.
This is
Yes.
my time. And so if you're experiencing several urges to eat and your only argument is you should go to bed, and you're like, yeah, but I want to stay up and watch the show and like all the things, then anytime you yawn, anytime you think I need to get to bed because I got an early start tomorrow, anytime you are parenting yourself and telling yourself like, this is the last episode and you really need to go to bed, your brain is going to have a very clever idea on how to make sure that you get to do what you want to do, which is stay up and hang out and have some fun and spend time on your own. And so it's going to be like, you could do that, or you could eat, then you get to watch one more episode because you're busy. Obviously, you're having some food, so I don't know if that's what you're experiencing, but it would be worth observing if the times that you get an urge to eat, a thought to eat, are the same times that you have the thought, I really should get to bed now. Because they might be correlated because you don't want to, right? You identify as a night owl. That's where you get your like, this is my time and whatever. So it may be just kind of some guilt that you're having, some like, I shouldn't be up right now. I really should be in bed. Grown ass adults go to bed on time, all those kinds of things. And you may need to haul your ass to bed. You may.
Yeah.
That may be a good solution, but it may also be that you need to just give yourself full permission not to, and let the suggestion to eat just be a suggestion. You can hear yourself say, I should get up and get something to eat. And you can follow that with like, that's just something that I'm thinking. It's just a suggestion.
Yes.
I'm sure you have a lot of mental suggestions every day about things that you could be doing or should be doing or want to do, filling up your Amazon cart, whatever. And then, I'm just leaving it there.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's just mental suggestions like, oh, I should buy this. It's like, well, let me just hurry and put it in my cart so I don't forget. And then it's just
that's
like,
true. Yeah. And I do that. I do that. That's so true. I get that satisfaction. But yeah, that is, you kind of hit the nail on the head to just kind of comment on that one comment you said about, it sounds like I like my nighttime for me. And that is 1000% true, because again, how my sleeping patterns and things are now. Like I'm up now and on my computer and things like that now when I'm home. Like when I'm home, even though I'm not traveling, I'm on my computer by 9. But my company lets us kind of work how we want, when we want, when I'm at home. So I will work off and on my whole day up until 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. I will do that. I'll take a break, go eat. I might go run errands, come back, get back on the computer, do some more work, all that kind of stuff. And I look up, it's midnight, and for some reason I come alive. I'm like, ooh, it's 10 o'clock, it's midnight. Yes, it's time. It's time to do whatever. But when I'm on the road, you're so right, Stephanie. When I'm on the road and I start very early and I get back to my hotel room around 7 or 8 o'clock, I have whatever dinner I'm gonna have from the area I'm in. And then after that, I am looking at some television show or something like that, because now I'm formally decompressing, and even though I might have an early start the next day, I'm up, I'm watching some movie, I'm enjoying something. I'm finally enjoying the rest of the time left I have in the day. So I find that even though I'm not doing all of that at home, I find that during the day, I struggle to be productive, weirdly enough. I struggle to be productive during the day because normally I would be teaching somewhere. So when I'm home and on my computer, it's hard for me to focus on computer projects that we may have. Because at some point, 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, I come alive and I'm like, now I'm ready. Now I can do whatever it is I want to do. For some reason, that's how my brain is now. But that will include eating more. I could go all day without eating, but something about the evening, I'll wake up, I'm ready to eat, I'm ready to drink, have my cocktails. It's party time and it's just me, and I can do that to 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, easily by myself. Play music, all that. For some reason, the party comes alive for me at night. And I keep saying, we need to change that, but it has not happened as of yet.
Well, why do you need to change it?
I just feel like I feel like if I had more structure, if you will, I would probably have the 3-4 meals like Leslie suggests, and have some normalcy. Maybe I wouldn't be kind of all over the place. I feel like I'm a little all over the place. I do have moments where my brain actually, I say to myself, and it's very loud and it's very clear, I feel out of control. And I feel like that oftentimes while I'm traveling. I feel out of control with what I want to eat, how I want to eat. Sometimes I don't eat all day while I'm working. I wait till my dinner time to eat. And then I just want to eat all the cows in the field nearby kind of thing. And I just feel out of control sometimes. When I want to think of something, quote unquote, healthy to eat, it's like, forget that. I want all the butter, all the cheese, all the fries, because I waited all day to eat. And then I reward myself for my all day fast, if you will, with comfort, high calorie, whatever. And then here comes the guilt cycle that comes behind it. And that's typically how I eat. I can fast all day, won't touch a morsel, but then when I'm ready to eat, it doesn't have to be a big meal, but it needs to be full of comfort and nourishment and all those things that make you go, that reward. But then after that, I can't turn the spout off.
Yeah.
It's knick-knacking, nipping, and all that because we've opened the floodgates.
This is a big conversation. It's definitely something to pull apart in layers and pieces.
Yeah.
The truth is nothing changes if nothing changes. And it sounds like there's some dopamine chasing in the evening, some self-rewarding, some comforting, things like that. And so one of the things that structure offers you is the opportunity to see what has you so wound up in the first place, right? So if you're meeting your needs for energy, nutrients, and pleasure 3 times a day during the day, because you could do that at night. Like if you want to sleep during the day and stay up and make nighttime your day, fine. But that's not what's happening. You're turning on music, you're having cocktails, you're chasing dopamine, you're chasing feel good stuff. It's not you just being like, and now I'm ready to work and be productive from the hours of midnight to 5 a.m. It's not a swing shift.
Yeah.
That's not happening. So what I would offer is that start maybe if you're willing, just say, you know what? I don't have to commit to this for the rest of my life, whatever, but I'm willing to experiment with what it would be like to eat 3 meals a day for a few days and then see what happens after that to my mindset. Do I still have the same urges, cravings, and things? And I want you to make sure when you're eating those 3 meals, you're adding the foods that you would normally eat, the French fries, the butter, whatever you were thinking is like dopamine driving yummies. Add those to your meals, because really this program and everything that you're experiencing has nothing to do with food. And so if we take care of our needs with food at regular intervals, then what we know for sure is everything else that pops up has an emotional root. And then we can really find what's going on. Do you have anything to add there, Leslie, before we wrap this? I know we've kind of gone over. So are you willing to experiment with that for a few days, Janice? And
absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Experiment with that for a few days. And then if you wouldn't mind, just shoot me an email and update me and let me know kind of how you're doing and what you're learning as it comes up. I just want you to eavesdrop on your brain, observe what's happening inside of your mental and emotional state at that time, and just don't judge it, just learn from it. And then we'll have some stuff to coach on and work through. Sound okay?
I sure will. Yes, I'll do that. Thank you so much.
Awesome. All right, y'all. That is a wrap. Thanks for hanging out with us and doing some coaching with us. We will get this posted ASAP, and don't hesitate to reach out if we didn't get to your question or you need anything at all. Bye, y'all.